everyone, to our BG5 Live. Great to have each and every one of you here with us today. Today is June 14th, 2022. This is episode 160, and today we're going to be taking a look at trait number 12. So with trait 12, we're going to take a look at caution in confronting temptation. That's what we're going to be exploring today. So before we jump in and get started, let's say hello to our panel. Let's start with Anna. Hello, Anna. Welcome.
Hello, I'm glad to be here. It's always wonderful. Hello, everyone.
Great to have you here. And Shelley.
Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Lovely to be here too.
Well, great to have you, Shelley. And for all of you who are attending live in our Zoom room, if you do have trait 12 in your design, we would love to hear from you. So as we go through taking a look at and exploring trait 12, if there's anything that you would like to add or share, we would love to hear from you as well. So as we explore caution in confronting temptation, we are in the month of June. We still have purpose fulfilled through form, and in June, it's about bringing forth progress by gathering together and cautiously including the diversity of humanity through stillness. So we're here at the caution parts. We took a look at progress, change, and the secret is no expectation last week. We also took a look last week at gathering together. And we took a look at the 45, the generosity is the key to harmony in the community. Today, we're going to take a look at caution, the importance of meditation and inaction in confronting temptation. So again, the 12 is about caution. It's making sure that you're waiting until you are in the mood. And so we'll be talking about that today. Next week, we're going to take a look at diversity, which is the 15. This is the love of humanity. It's also modesty as well as extremes. And then the following week, we'll take a look at the 52 of stillness, the focused channeled energy. So as you can see today, again, what's always interesting, I always like taking a look at what grounds the 12. What grounds the 12 is 11. So the 11 is up here in conceptualization, and this is about ideas, right? And 12 is connected to communication and action in the throat. And there's a uniqueness here in the 12 because this is, and especially if you have the 22-12, if you have the entire strength, this is the strength of socialness, and it is an individual trait, but it really is here to mutate and make changes to the collective as well. So let's dive into the 12. So this week's theme is the 12 of caution. So it's the quality of restraint and the importance of meditation in inaction in confronting temptation. One of the things that's interesting about the 12, this is, if this is your life work theme as well, and this is why I have the image here as well, is that it is, it's represented by Eden or experience. And again, that's why there's this inaction in confronting temptation. It's making sure that you take action when the timing is correct. Because if the timing's not correct, things are not going to come across correctly. On the other side, we have the 22, which is grace or disgrace. And so the expression, if not in the correct timing, can cause this can cause upset. This is also an innovator strength, as well as an innovator trait as well. So it is important to wait until you're in the mood and take action when it is correct. This is the power of cultural mutation. The power of cultural mutation is the mystery of Standstill, right? So again, this is about changing the collective. This is about being able to speak in a way that has impact and affects others. And this is a releasing the awareness in the proper spirit, right? So again, it is all about timing. This is individual. So it can be It's not there, it's not there, it's not there until suddenly it is there. And so again, it is waiting until you are in the mood. So this is the voice of caution. And this is the voice of caution, especially in social situations, until the right timing presents itself, right? And it's keeping silent until your mood tells you that you're ready or have something to say, as well as a very unique way of saying it as well. And your tone of voice speaks louder than your choice of words. So this is also a trait of poets or public speakers or singers or those that speak poetry, right? It is the tone of your voice and how you use your voice, which is part of the power of what the 12 is all about. So I would love to hear from Shelley and Anna what you see in trait 12. I also have the 12, so I'll share in a little bit. And then also any of you who are live here in our Zoom room, we would love to hear from you as well if you have trait 12 defined in your design. So Anna, would you like to start?
I'll jump in. The most, no, I don't have 12, but I have the 22. So, excuse me. The 12 to me is like warm syrup. You know, it's literally a physical effect on me. And we were talking earlier this morning with a couple of people that have the 12 and their voices, there's just this lusciousness in the sound of their voice. And I was in a relationship with a man that had the 12. It was, when he would speak at a certain, when it was right, it was like, oh, that just, it was just so right. You know, your whole body would react to whatever he was saying. And if it wasn't right, it'd be like, wait, oh, you know, that kind of feeling. And so this socialness to me is that they can be moody, melancholy, they can have that standoff, they don't want to share something. And I've learned to understand, especially with the 22, we can get to this, that you don't have to fill up that space. There's a sound in that quiet. There's a quietness in this whole sort of meditative stillness thing. And if you learn or cultivate or naturally have that ability to be inactive, the frequency will affect you in a positive way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm teaching the BG5 Foundation Course, and we were talking about innovators today. So we had Anna and a couple other innovators join us for the class. And yes, you're absolutely right, Anna. Their voices are so amazing and so powerful. You know, listening to someone who has the 12, you know, you can feel that their voice really does have impact. Yeah, definitely. And how about for you, Shelley?
Yeah, that's beautiful, Anna, everything you said. And I really, what happens for me, for listening to people with the 12, Karen, you have it, and I feel this every time I listen to you, is it's more there's a vibration that's not there in people who don't have the 12. That's the thing I notice the most, is there's a tone and an actual vibration. Like Anna was saying, she can feel it in her body. I did a session last week for a friend of mine who has the 12 as well. And he was talking just about how much that he notices that in other people. And I said, well, that's really interesting because you have it yourself. And here I am sitting in the room with you face to face, experiencing this low level vibration I can feel throughout my entire body just because you're speaking. It doesn't even matter what you say. It's the tone that you're using that's very soothing and comforting. And I also have people in my life who have the full strength connected to their emotions. And when they're not aware of their tone of voice, it can be devastating the other way. If they're speaking directly from intense emotions that they're unaware of, or they're venting their emotions and completely unaware of the impact their voice has. It can be, it impacts everyone. Being an innovator strength, it really impacts people around you. So that's another thing, that the 12, I think the reason it's called caution is because when it's connected directly to the emotions, you do need to be cautious about how you deliver or say things, and kind of make sure that you're balanced emotionally or aware of what your emotions are before you speak, and can come to that, ride the roller coaster and get to that calm point before you speak. Otherwise, if you're just kind of spewing, that can have a major negative effect on people around you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really good point, Shelley. Yeah. And anyone here in our Zoom room that has trait 12, that would love to share about 12, having trait 12, if you want to raise your hand, and we can invite you to speak, because we would love to hear from you as well if you do have trait 12, or also if you have an experience with someone who has a trait 12. So we would love to hear from you. So be sure to raise your hand. I do have trait 12, and I have it twice in my design. So it's pretty powerful in my design as well. So you may notice in the way that I'm speaking as well, as sometimes I like getting more dramatic. I remember I was just today when I was talking about the innovators, talking about the survival instinct and how it's an awareness function, and that it speaks very quietly. So it's the pauses, it's the ability to utilize your voice. Again, you'll often find that people who have the 12 are good speakers, are good communicators. And as Shelley was pointing at, and as I mentioned before, making sure you're in the mood and making sure that the timing is correct for what you have to share is really important, because if you share when, again, you're emotionally upset, it can have a big effect as well in a not so good way. Yes, Leanna. Oh, let me make sure you can talk. There we go. Oh, are you
Hi,
there?
everyone. Yes.
Hi there.
Yeah, the 12. I love the 12. I'm appreciative of the 12. I definitely feel it's a strength. It's a nice strength to have. When you were sharing, in just going over some of the points of the 12, yeah, caution. What really stood out for me was the power of cultural mutation, and the mystery of the standstill. That I've been talking about this week to my girlfriend, and I have felt this over the last 2 years when there's been so many cultural changes and collective changes, that I at one stage thought I was taking an accurate pulse of the culture around me, so the field around me, the tempo or even the temperature of the field around me, as the culture, not just my neighborhood, like it's culture, the culture, and obviously it's the business strength as well for me. So I thought I had an accurate temperature, but because I am personally focused, I don't always get that right, because I just assume everyone's like me until I receive enough information to show me that actually there's something else maybe that the majority are feeling, or that the culture around me is feeling. And this one's been really interesting, because I was able to just notice, understand, and accept the culture. And then I went silent as a response, but it didn't necessarily feel like I was shrinking. And now I understand why. Like, often sometimes people will relate staying silent to becoming smaller. But what I realize is the 12 has a strength of this knowing, or this the pulsing, the tasting almost.
Mhm.
So it responds to that. There's a grace and an eloquence because it just accepts, understands, and respects the timing. Like it's the timing's just not there. I don't know. I'm loving this because every live, obviously last year the discussion would have been, discussion every year, the discussion brings something different out of that same trait.
Mhm.
So for me, yeah, it's just this pulsing. I don't know if you feel that if you feel that way, Karen, as well.
Mhm.
Like, oh, okay, this is where we are. And then there's a grace and then maybe a choice point around what parts of us we bring.
Mhm.
But
Yes.
because the timing, it's because you can just feel it. What would be affecting the field in a way that would feel negative, or let's say prickly. So,
Mhm.
the innovator, what would feel prickly to the cultural field or to the culture of the field?
Yeah.
It would just feel prickly, like you can feel it. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Mhm. Mhm.
Do you feel that as well?
Yeah,
Or
and here's the thing with the caution. I love what you said about this, is because it really is, um, people would think of caution as a weakness or not doing anything, but the caution is heightened awareness.
yes,
Heightened awareness to what is going on in the environment. And
yes,
there may be this want to say something, want to get something out, want people to pay attention. That's part of the temptation, because it's like, okay, people need to know this now, and you try to get it out there, and if the timing's not correct, nobody's going to listen, or they're going to think you're nuts,
mm,
or it's going to end up in disgrace or embarrassment for yourself. So caution is really, in a sense, this active sort of listening to what's present now in that part of the 22 is the listening part of it as well, but really being present to what the audience is, what the environment is, who you're speaking to, what mood they're in, what mood you're in. So it's this caution to be able to take in all of this information of, what's in the environment, so that oftentimes with the 12, you can, in listening to what's out there, you can speak to the correct listening, if that makes sense. Meaning that, if the timing's not right, you end up not saying anything. And I remember when I was young it was in elementary school, my teacher called me Karen Quiet as a Mouse Logison. That was my last name. But called me Quiet as a Mouse. And it's part of this caution, right? If there's nothing for me to say, there's nothing for me to say. And when there is something for me to say, and I do have the 1-8, and that has to be recognized and invited, then it can, then together, then it really has impact. But if there's nothing to say, why say it? And there's power in being quiet or being cautious as well, because you're not trying to talk over everybody else. You're being able to take in and listen to what people are saying so that you can tie it into. You may notice that this is often what I do in classes as well, really listening to what people are saying and really highlighting those elements that really have an impact, or things to really highlight. And that's when, in a sense, cultural mutation can take place. I mean, this is one of the traits of cultural mutation. It's what is able to change. When we're talking about mutation is change. It's a way of being able to change the way that people hear things or see things or experience things by having a slightly different perspective. So I don't know if that's what you were talking about, Leanna, but in that is what I can really sense right now, is, again, there's a lot of things shifting and changing. It has been for the last couple of years. It's going to continue to change. We're moving towards 2027. It's going to change more and more and more. So being aware of it and knowing when things are ripe to change, right? Kind of the reaching for the apple of when things are actually ripe for change and when they're not, right? So it is all about the timing.
And to segue from what Leanna and Karen were just saying, this message of releasing awareness in the proper spirit. Spirit is a sentient experience. It's not definable. Everybody has their own idea, their own feeling, their own sensory awareness of what spirit is. And people automatically can tell when something's, when you hit that note correctly or you haven't hit that note correctly. And when we're talking about the cultural, when Leanna brought that in, and the field, the general field, when you're speaking, and you do this beautifully, Karen, when you're speaking to a group or an auditorium or playing music or lecturing or whatever you're doing in that sort of framework, of course the sound matters, but a lot of times you'll go off script because you're reading. Somebody with the 12 that's using it well will address the energy in the room and speak to that, to the, with the proper spirit, awareness in spirit, and speak to whatever is in the room that people need to hear. And I think that's the beauty of this, is sometimes when there's a space in between notes or light in between colors in a painting or whatever the thing is, it's that silence in between. It's just a fraction of a second sometimes. But it's that space in between where spirit lives. And that's a lot of times the culture needs to hear things that are not yet spoken. And the 12 can speak to that.
Yeah, beautifully said, Anna. Thank you so much.
Can I add
yes,
to
please.
that too? What I was picking up when Leanna was talking, I quickly pulled up her chart. And Karen, you, both of you have the 22 open, and this might segue us into the next piece. But what was coming to me, Leanna, the way you were speaking, and I love your tone of voice, it's so like butter. But you have your open emotional center and the open 22, which gives you a whole lot of wisdom and feelers to feel through a whole pile of infinite possibilities of all the energy that's going on. Like you're wide open to picking up and amplifying all of that. And Karen, you've got your 22 open as well, which that expansion of being able to sample all of that energy that's going on and bring it forward into the 12, directing it with the 12, using what feels right to bring forward. I love what you said, Anna, about bringing the 55 forward. It's in the same circuitry. It's the same stream, the bringing the spirit forward by feeling through the emotional center and the openness, and the openness of the 22. It brings it's a beautiful combination to be able to really be deliver that focused message then when you do get it, that it's super clear then when the timing is right, and it's transcendent. It's shifting, riding on that wave of that everything in the universe comes down to tone, doesn't it? It comes down to sound, and I know there's color in there somewhere too, but sound is really reverberating around us continually. We're riding all these waves.
Yeah.
And
with that, like you were talking about with the moods and the expression of spirit, this is individual. So it's like there's nothing happening, and then all of a sudden something happens. And that's part of the caution, is instead of the temptation to act or the temptation to make things happen, it is that caution to allow nothing to happen until the timing is right for something to happen. And I know, Lori, you had, I saw you briefly raise your hand. I would love to hear from you if you have something that you would like to share as well. And if not, that's fine also.
She's just muted. You're muted, Lori? Or, oh.
All right. Well, if you maybe you're having a problem unmuting, but if you would like to share, we would love to hear from you. And again, if there's anyone else who has 12 as well, or if you have the 22, but you don't have the 12. So let's take a look at how you're affected when you're connected. So this is the shadow of the 12, or if you don't have the 12. So again, you can see you have the 22 on the other side, but you don't have trait 12. And the shadow of trait 12 is the lack of something worthwhile to listen to. So the question is, do you have a hard time communicating your emotions, right? Because it's not connected, it's not connected to communication and action. So you can feel things, but you may not be able to express them. Do you get nervous when things are too quiet, right? And again, it's that temptation not to talk when things are too quiet. So you may know what you feel, but are not sure how to express it verbally. And because silence makes you nervous, what you fear the most is that there's nothing worthwhile to listen to, right? So the 22 is about listening, but again, if it's not connected, it can't be expressed. Or again, there could be a fear that there's nothing worth listening to. So the solution is that you're here to connect with others. And when you connect with others, it makes it easier for you to combine the potential for emotional openness through listening with social grace and charm to be highly attractive to others when you are in the mood. So if for those of you who have trait 22, but do not have trait 12, how does that show up for you? Do either of you have 22? I can't remember. You have 22, Shelley? Both of you do. Yes. Would you like to start, Shelley?
Sure. Yeah. I loved learning about this, and I love the connection we have, Karen, in that you do help me express what I'm feeling. And there have been lots of times in my life where I was feeling extremely emotional and literally babbling, trying to get the words out, to find words to describe what I'm actually feeling. It is one of the most challenging things to do. I think for me, this 22 is also unconscious, and any of the connections in my emotional intelligence, they're all unconscious for me. So that makes it even harder because I'm not even aware that I'm having feelings sometimes, let alone knowing how to express them. So it has really helped to be able to connect with someone like yourself, and it makes it easier to talk about that. Yeah, talk about things.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, Shelley. And how about for you, Anna?
Yeah, my experience with the 22 is the kind of quiet, the kind of silence that there is, because I've noticed I have family members with the 20, the whole trait, the whole strength and the trait, and also friends. So it's the kind of nervousness. It's like, when something is ready to be said and it's not being said, there's this tension, and that I notice I will get nervous around that's sort of the elephant in the room kind of thing. And once it comes out, it's like, oh yeah, because I can hear all kinds of things. I hear trees talking, animals, and I hear all kinds of sounds within music or whatever. So I'm very, very sensitive to the quiet sound. And sometimes it is so pleasing. Sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of, early morning, and it is so quiet. And I love that quiet because it's so rich. It's incredibly informative, so rich and it downloads so much information that it doesn't have words, like Shelley was saying. It doesn't have words yet until there's an emotional frequency to it. And so that kind of silence is really, really lovely. And so, to me, it's both parts of the 12 and the effect that the 12 has on me and how I respond. When Shelley, you were saying about, just sort of blabbing, as a kid, I always cried a lot. And sometimes I still do, depending, but it's an emotional way of speaking. Those tears, that energy in your body, it is a way of speaking. So it's not, maybe not with words, but you are speaking. And that's important, I think, to validate, because that always messed me up till I got older and figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful, Anna. I totally, you reminded me of a bunch of things too, that I too really do love the silence. I think the nervousness, like you said, it's being able to hear what's not being said. And it's kind of like, I'm so aware of what's not being said that to me, it seems obvious that everybody else should be hearing that too. It's almost like you hear what's unspoken in a block of, I don't know, it's just a flash of knowing. I guess this is the individual circuit. It's a flash of knowing, oh, wait a second, you two are talking about completely different things. This is the piece that's disconnecting you. It is really apparent and really so there in my presence that it's shocking that other people aren't hearing it too. It's that real. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It's just that it's as real as anything someone spoke. And yet I recognize that no one else has actually picked up on it. So thanks for reminding me of that. And that tears thing too. I was just listening to a wonderful book this morning, and spilling out tears just flow out of nowhere. And it is as though they've spoken as well. There's no need for words. The tears themselves are a form of communication.
Yeah.
I love that.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Shelley. Yes, and Lori.
Oh, hello.
Yay.
I'm so sorry. Thank you for welcoming me. I just got another call after volunteering to speak. Are we still on the 12?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have a very close friend who has the full strength, the 1222. And what's super interesting, his voice is like warm honey. It's so beautiful. But he will only speak when he wants to. And the interesting thing is, if he gets a call from someone and it's not the right time, he will completely ignore them. And it seems kind of rude to the other person, but when he does feel it's right, it's amazing.
Yes.
So.
And that really is the key. It's all about the timing. And because again, if the timing's not right, again, if you're broadcasting incorrectly, if you're broadcasting when it's not right, like I said, it can end in disgrace, especially if you do have the entire strength. So it's wonderful that he is so aware of how that operates, and for you also to honor that as well.
Yeah, it's challenging because it can seem rude to other people who don't understand. And he's otherwise very courtly and chivalrous and all that with people, very polite, except when it's not the right time to speak, he'll just cut him off and walk away. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the beauty of what we look at in BG5 and human design, is really understanding how people operate, and what we may perceive as rude is something that, in a sense, he needs in order to really be true to himself. And to make sure that it doesn't end up in disgrace. And so it's really giving us the permission to be ourselves. And it also gives us the opportunity, because it's not only about learning about ourselves, it's learning about others as well, to really appreciate the differences that others have and what it takes for others to really take care of themselves and what's correct for them.
He often says, I wish other people didn't get hurt by my actions.
Mm.
So,
Is he an innovator
um,
or an express builder?
express builder.
Yeah. Yeah. And it does have the quality of, again, there's only two career types that have that particular strength of the 2212, and it's the express builder or it's the innovator.
Mhm.
And there can be an element also of anger behind that strength as well, when when things are not working out correctly or when he's not in the mood.
Oh, that's an interesting point, because he will say, I feel so raw when he's not in the mood that I can't talk. He simply cannot.
Mm-hmm.
That raw, it does have an angry quality to it.
Yeah.
Mean
Yeah.
tone. That's interesting. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
you're
that-
very welcome, Lori. Thank you for sharing that.
One thing I'll add about the the express builder, because of it's connected to the manifesting strengths, you might just say, inform them about informing. It's like, if you're not in the mood, you can prep your friends or your associates or whatever and say, this is really important to me to be in the mood, to say this right, to share this at the right time. So, just letting them know you're not trying to be offensive. This is just how you operate. The other thing I wanted to mention was, I think a lot of us in school years, grade school or whatever, college, listening to the teachers or being in church and listening to the sermon or whatever, it's torture when somebody is not speaking with spirit. You just tune it out. And I think it might be important to that kid in school who just tunes out. Maybe that's a clue that the teacher somehow, or whoever's doing the lesson plan, is not really connecting, because there's a lot of different ways to connect, and certainly the 12 is one. But for that kid that just is like, oh man, get me out of here, a lot of times it has to do with the sound of the voice and the presence in what they're delivering.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, was there something, Lori, that you wanted to add?
Oh, I have suggested to this person that he let others know when he's not, that he simply cannot talk, and he will get back to them when he can. And he said he gets so raw when he's not in the mood. It's impossible for him to communicate. So Anna, your suggestion sounds really good. This particular person is unable to follow it. But I'm just looking at the chart to see if there's any, that's the other definition is integration 5734 in this person's chart. So could be why it's like, I'm doing my thing and not really aware of the other people.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and can I add to that too, that I think it's amazing that he has the wherewithal and the strength to hold back and not speak, because I have several relatives who have the full strength and they're not really great at taking care of themselves and keeping themselves balanced. And they can just spew in the moment without even a flicker of a thought. And it ends up on everyone. And it creates a really uncomfortable, awful feeling for anyone around them. So I think that, especially when he has his personal power defined as well, that he's got that restraint built in to go within himself and say, no, I just know I need to just stay here, and to honor that in him, and to maybe in the times when he's feeling calm and can speak, he can explain that to people around him so that they know He doesn't have to say it in the moment when he can't, because I understand that I've experienced that. But to do it at a time when he's feeling good and does want to speak and can be his buttery self, that might be the time to let people around him know. So
Yeah, that's very interesting, Shelley. I'm a psychotherapist. I've done a few therapy sessions with him. And when he does let it rip, like you just mentioned, it's pretty toxic. But I think for the public, I can't, to be able to say it's not the right time. It sounds like a really brilliant solution. So thank you for pointing that out.
And I love what you said, Shelley, too, is when he is in the mood, letting people know, you know what, if ever I just, walk away or I don't say anything, it's just because I'm not in the mood and I just really can't say anything at that moment. So if that happens, don't take it personally. And if he can inform before it even happens, because I can, as Shelley was saying, get it if he can't do it in the moment, but especially those close to him or those that he's in regular communication with, letting them know just beforehand, if that ever happens, don't take it personally. It's just, I'm not in the mood. I can't even speak. Can help quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you all. You're doing a wonderful service and wonderful job with this. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Lori. It's been a pleasure.
And Karen, we have Casey in Facebook. She has the 22 in her conscious moon, and it's a bridging trait for her. And she says she experiences it as a need to be social. I find talking to others helps me express my emotions a bit like a sounding board. I'm also a mental projector on my subconscious imprint, which also pushes me towards the need to talk to understand what I'm feeling. So that combination of being an advisor where she needs to hear what she has to say to help her make decisions, having the 22 there, being social really helps her with her own decision-making strategy. So that's beautiful, Casey. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes, absolutely. And LR is saying when he's not in the mood, making use of do not disturb on the phone, email, tech can let others know that this is not a good time. Yeah, that's another great suggestion as well, without even having to say anything. Having the do not disturb on those on the tech is a good idea as well. Thank you for that, LR. Love it. Beautiful. Well, this has been an amazing discussion. Thank you for everyone who contributed. And again, this is knowing these traits, understanding how they work and understanding how they show up, both for yourself and also for others, really allows us to be present to who we are and accept who we are, and accept that caution to know when to speak or not. It's one of the things to take a look at this week. And it also allows us to accept others exactly where they're at. So if you are new to BG5 and human design, again, you can download your chart if you want to know, do I have trait 12 or do I have trait 22 or do I have either of them? You can download your free chart at the BG5businessinstitute.com. You can also take a look at what the trait is for the day by going to the BG5 Business Institute website, taking a look at BG5 Live. Also, you can watch past episodes there as well. And we have courses and programs that go deeper into all of the different aspects of what your career design is all about, all of the traits, all of the strengths, all of the career types that we've been mentioning. So our next semester will be starting in September. So you have some time to ponder it, to check it out, and see if taking one of the courses is correct for you. All right. So what we're going to do is just wrap everything up, and I would love to hear from each of our panelists. And of course, Lori and Leanna, if you have something to contribute, we would love to hear from you as well. What are some things for people to pay attention to this week as we have trait 12 activated? So in a sense, we all have access to experiencing or seeing or feeling what trait 12 is all about. So what are some things to be aware of this week as we are in trait 12? Do you like to start, Anna?
Certainly. Again, since this is an awareness, part of the whole awareness process, I would just listen to the sound of people's voices, whether it's your own or whether it's the 12. Doesn't matter if you even know what their graph is like or what their design is like. Just, I would start by being aware of the sound that affects you. And that can be silence as well as words or music or whatever it is, but how sound affects you, because that's feedback. As the feedback is whether that's aligned, pleasant, wonderful, or discomforting. I would just explore the awareness of how sound affects you, how your sound, the sound of what you're communicating, affects other people.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Anna. How about you, Lori? Is there anything that you would like to share or contribute?
Well, I would say pay attention to whether you're in the mood for any communication that you're about to do, and be aware of others as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautifully said, Lori. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been great hearing your voice and having you join us.
Thank you.
Yes. And Leanna.
I'm going to piggyback Lori 100% with the mood, but I would add, I would do mine a little bit different. I would add just what I'm thinking about is how I grapple with trusting that honoring my moods is an intuitive awareness function, not something else. So for example, I'm imagining a lot of people would talk themselves out of honoring their moods, because growing up we're often talked into, not talked into things. So, and lots of examples on that. So I just noticed that following your moods, trusting that they are plugged into life itself, and they are intuitive, and they are powerful, and they are not to be, because I find moods can be at times easily overridden or not given enough space or value, that they're actually this awareness function. I think that's brilliant. Yep. So my take home is reminding myself and inviting others to think about the power of the awareness function of moods. And that following them keeps us in alignment with our design.
Yes, because it is pointed to emotional intelligence, which is, the awareness of our emotions, and really being aware of when you're in the mood to speak and when you need to have caution, right? This is what we're talking about today, is having that caution to wait until the timing is right. Beautiful. All right. And Shelley.
I love that, Leanna. That's so beautifully said. And I would add on to that, just honoring moods, not only for yourself and bringing that awareness for recognizing your own moods and your own emotional waves, but also allowing others to have the space to have their moods. What was coming to mind was that we often feel like when there's silence, we have to hurry up to fill the void. And there's that social pressure to, oh, don't just stand around awkwardly not saying anything. How about giving ourselves some grace to absorb that silence, and instead of feeling nervous about it, really being able to sink into it. And I know there's a lot of cultures that this is how a lot of cultures begin their meetings. They'll come together in silence first and really connect with each other through that silence, and then wait to see what bubbles forth and who needs to speak first. And that whole allowing each other the time and space without feeling that societal pressure we often have in this part of the world, to jump in and fill the void. So getting comfortable with silence, that would be the thing I would challenge people to do, is get comfortable with being in silence together and seeing what you notice.
Yeah, I love that, Shelley. Yeah, and that caution to the temptation to talk, and allowing the silence to just be there. Beautiful. Yeah, it's a very acoustic trait. So listening, timing, taking a look at when you are in the mood. All right, everyone. It has been a fabulous discussion. Thank you, each and every one of you. And we look forward to seeing you all next week. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.